Well, right now we have an officially proposed regulation, and we've gone through the public comment period. We actually had a 90-day comment period, which is fairly extraordinary in its length of time, and we had 7 public hearings throughout the state. So, as I mentioned at the conference, we've received approximately 25,000 individual comments, and comprising of tens of thousands of more comments contained therein. Our objective now is to hold a series of public meetings where we present the revisions that we intend to make to this rule based on the comments we received, and we're also anticipating having an advanced notice of final rulemaking where we'll put the document out again for a limited duration public comment period to focus in on those changes that we did indeed make based on the comments we received. We think that that's important because we did get such a substantial public interest in the rule, and also because we're bifurcating that rule from conventional and unconventional as a result of the changes to the fiscal code. So our absolute drop dead date is March 2016, where we have to have that proposed rulemaking back to the Independent Regulatory Review Commission as a final rule. If we don't make that time frame, it'll be deemed withdrawn and we have to start over again. Number one comment we received from the public was to ban the use of pits at well sites. The current operations typically actually do not utilize pits any longer, but it was certainly something we saw utilized fairly routinely in the beginning of shale gas development. Now with the advent of closed loop drilling, where they recycle the drilling muds that are used to clear the cuttings out of the well, we have seen a substantial reduction in the use of pits, but that was still the number one comment we received from the public. As far as the use of pits, obviously it is currently a lawful practice. But we recognized that there have been advances made in containment systems and practices. So to the extent an operator would elect to use a pit and there is a failure, there's going to be an enforcement action that reflects the election of a use of maybe a less superior method of containing fluids and waste materials. Well, we've known for many, many years that the act of hydraulic fracturing will not affect fresh groundwater. And so the study really confirms what the department has observed through its lengthy history of regulating oil and gas development in the state. I mean, remember that conventional well drilling has used hydraulic fracturing techniques for decades and decades. It's just been common practice here. So our experience with tens of thousands of hydraulic fracturing operations has proven, in our opinion, conclusively that groundwater can be protected during that process. Similarly, our history has also shown us that the act of drilling through an aquifer can cause impacts, spills. We just talked about pits. Improperly lined pits or torn pits have leaked and caused impacts to private water supplies as well. Just the act of building the pad has at times affected water supplies, particularly where someone's using a spring as their water source, which is a lot more common than you might think in Pennsylvania. So we've recognized that when it comes to protecting water supplies, we need to focus primarily on proper well cementing and cementing practices. Those techniques prevent gas migration from occurring, where we've seen gas from shallower formations above the Marcellus getting up into aquifers, as was the case with Dimock and Susquehanna County. But our new rules have really had a pronounced effect, if you will, on those occurrences, where we've seen year after year a decline in the number of incidents where improperly cemented wells have resulted in an impact to water supply. So it is great to see Duke isn't the only institution that's studied this matter and come to these same conclusions. But it was always good to have confirmation of the hypothesis or the theory that we've had based on our long history. Because let's face it, we cannot have groundwater contamination. It can't occur at all, let alone be a legacy of this industry. And that specter of having hydraulic fracturing be this long-term consequence, long-term impact to the environment, hopefully that's been laid to rest.